Hi, welcome to the channel. This is Devin with Sinister Machine Works. What I'm going to show you today is a walkthrough of my process of finding a new CNC mill. I currently have a Fadal 2216 with a 21 tool changer, through spindle coolant, chip conveyor. And what I'm really looking for is just to upgrade my machine. I've went high and low looking for a machine that would fit the exact same specs or better than what I currently have. And I just wanted to take you through the process of what I found, and hopefully it will help one of you guys do the same thing. I have a small shop with rotary phase converters, so power really isn't a problem for me. One of the big things was getting it through a standard garage door and to not lose any of the options that I currently have. I really want the through spindle coolant and the chip conveyor. And any of you guys know that once you have a chip conveyor, you don't want to go back to scooping chips. So I'm going to walk you through Tormach, some Haas options, DN Solutions, Syil, and Smart. These are the ones that I found closest to fit my needs. I'm sure there's others out there. I just don't know of them offhand, I guess. But I'm going to walk you through the building of the machines on the websites that I can, and then share with you the prices I've got from other places on the ones that I can't build. So to start out with, I'm going to show you the Tormach, the 1500 MX. This is the biggest one Tormach makes. It is kind of their flagship. It's pretty new. One thing I would say about this compared to my current machine is I am losing some travel because these are 19.7 by 13.8 by 14. And also it's a 16 tool versus the 21 tool changer. But this might be perfect for somebody else. I just wanted to add it in there to see how it fit along with all the other machines. So right here, I'm going to do the factory assembled. I don't feel like building another one. I currently have a 1100 Tormach that I bought quite a few years ago, and that came in pieces and boxes, and I didn't really want to go that route again. So I'm gonna select a fully assembled one with the ATC, automatic tool changer, and a coolant system. So we're at 43,000 right now as it sits. The software is standard, high-speed machining, all that comes standard. I don't have to add anything there. I'm not going to add any probe or the Heimer right now, just because that's per application. I might not need it, and somebody else might need it. Fourth axis, I don't need a fourth axis right now. It's something you can always add later, so I'm not going to add that. Through spindle coolant, I would really like that, so I'm going to add that on. The washdown is a great option if you guys have ever seen a machine that has wash. It's great to have, especially when you have a chip conveyor, which I will add that. Right here, here's a chip conveyor. I don't need any of these options that I believe, so I'm not going to select any of those, and I'm going to add the extended warranty, just because some of the other machines come with a 2-year warranty. I just want to try to get it as comparable as possible. Not going to add any tooling or work holding. Again, that's totally up to the end person of what they're going to have. I don't need any of these options right now because I'm replacing a mill. I'm not buying something new. Here's the total. We're right at $60,000. I'll show you how that compares to the other ones. It's just, this will give you a rough idea what this machine costs and the configuration that would work for me. All the prices I'm going to give you are before tax, before shipping. So, that might be something where it adds a lot of money to a certain machine, or some of the tooling suppliers might, do that for free. I just want to leave the, as the base price because there's a lot of variables after the purchase. Next, we're going to go on to Haas. The Super Mini Mill, that is also undersized for what I want, but it probably would be closer to price of what I'm wanting to spend. So I'm going to go through and check this out. This comes with a 10,000 RPM spindle, which is great. My Fadal has a 10,000. I would hate to go less than 10,000, especially when you're machining aluminum, which a lot of what I'm doing is aluminum. So I want at least 10. 12 would be even better. I don't know on these Haases if the grease pack is that much better than the standard one. I don't think I need to add the 15,000 RPM spindle for $11,000, so that seems pretty excessive. I'll probably just do this because I believe it is a better spindle than the standard one. I know some people have had problems with Haas and spindles, so I'm trying to get the best one to fit my price range. 30 tool changers, great. Definitely better than 21, better than the 16 that the Tormach had. Let's see, I don't need any fourth or fifth axis. So the chip auger, I've used Haas's with the chip auger, and I'm not a huge fan of it. The chip conveyor is definitely the route I would go. Looks like I need to add the chip auger on it also. I suppose it's just because of how they have it configured. I'm not going to add any of the coolant tank stuff. I don't care about the auto refill or filters right now. Through spindle coolant, I'm adding that because I like to have it sometimes. It's not a 100% need, it's more of a want. I don't need to add any of this stuff. Shouldn't need spindle orientation because I believe it should be doing rigid tapping. Yep, that's standard. So I'm not going to worry about spindle orientation. Standard memory should be fine. I think that's something you can always upgrade later down the road if you needed. Standard transformer's fine. I don't need any of this. No auto doors. I'm not going to have a machine tend to it. I am going to add the extended warranty just because the other machines I'm looking at, or at least one of them, has a 2-year warranty. So I kind of want it the same. Don't need a cobot. Don't need fourth axis or any of that. No 5th axis. I don't need tooling. So right here, we're at 72,361 for the super mini mill, which is 16 by 14 by 15 travel, which is actually smaller than the Tormach. So yeah, that's where we're sitting on that one. Let's go to the VF2 SS. This is a pretty standard mill for a lot of people. 12,000 RPM, perfect. 30 plus 1 tool changer, great. Rigid tapping, all that stuff. Sticking with the Cat 40, so I don't need the HSK, any of that. So the spindle's fine. 30 plus 1 tool changer, fine. I'm not going to do any probing, no 4th axis, no 5th axis. Chip conveyor, I'm going to add. So added on whatever needed. Looks like the multi-auger. All that stuff is fine. I'm going to add through spindle coolant. Just a standard one. I don't need the 1000 psi. I'm gonna do standard flood coolant. That stuff looks all standard. Standard memory is gonna be fine. I don't need any of this stuff. Just like any of these machines, you can add whatever you want to raise the price to whatever, so you could have a fortune in them. And that's, you might need all that stuff or you might not. I am adding the 2nd year warranty here. And that should be it. Yep. So we're at 97,826 for that. Let's go on to the standard VF2. So this one comes with an 8100 RPM spindle, 20 pocket carousel tool changer, rigid tapping. So I don't want 8100 spindle. I want to get to good 10,000 RPM gear and grease packed. So I'm gonna add that to it. I'll keep with the standard tool changer. Yeah, it's almost 9,000 for the 30 plus 1. I'm not gonna get any of this. I'm gonna add the chip conveyor, which for some of you guys it might be okay just have the standard machine the way it is. This is just for me. Obviously it's adding, some of the stuff I'm adding is gonna add to the price. Keep all that stuff standard and just go on to the extended warranty. So we're at 94,000 on that one, and 97 on VF2 SS. The way these are configured, the VF2 is kind of pointless versus a VF2 SS. I think you get a lot more machine with the VF2 SS versus the standard VF2, especially when you add on options to make it a pretty usable machine. If you just needed a 3-axis mill with no thrills, just do like op 1 parts or something like that, or roughing out, a VF2 might be fine for you. But if you want kind of a universal machine where you can do a lot of things on it and get stuff done quicker, I'd definitely go the SS, especially with the faster travels and everything. Next, we're going to go to the SVM by DN Solutions. This is the 4100, which is a 3016 machine. It's got a chip conveyor on it. That's optional. The quote I got, I had them add the chip conveyor on. They come standard with a 2-year warranty. And let's see what else they have. They have the Cat 40 Big Plus spindle, which is a Big Kaiser came out with it. It actually uses 2 points of contact versus just a taper. So if you're really heavy machining and heavy like face milling and stuff like that, that's where it really comes into play. It's got 12,000 RPM spindle standard. Pretty fast, 1417 inches per minute, 25 horse is pretty standard. It fits in a garage door, a standard garage door, which is nice. Of course, it's a 3-phase machine, which you're going to have a phase converter or something like that if you put it in a residential place. I'll come back to this more once we come to the spreadsheet to show the prices. Next up is the Syil X9. This is the closest one to the size I would be looking at. Starts at just under 54,000. You can get, probing, chip conveyor, all that stuff as an option. I believe you can get through spindle coolant also. So this is a 30 by 20 by 20 machine. So pretty decent. BT40, I'm not quite a fan of that because I already have a bunch of Cat 40 tooling. I'd have to retool. But, if it came in at the right price and with all the options I wanted, it would be definitely worth swapping over. 12,000 RPM, which is great. I've heard quite a bit of good things about these. Of course, Titan is a seller of these, so that helps out, getting a lot of support and everything like that. Pretty heavy machine, 13,000 pounds, so I think it's a pretty well set up machine. And the last one is the Smart Mini. This machine, you have to, get a quote, just like some of the others. It's a kind of a bare bones machine, 23 by almost 18 by 20, Cat 40, 12,000 RPM. Looks like 10 horsepower. I think this would be a great, first CNC machine. You can't get a lot of options with it, unfortunately. But for the when we see the price, you'll see that it's quite a bit of machine for the money. Let's go over here to the. Gonna open up the prices here. A second, I could update 2 of them. That was 72, 361. When I first did the spreadsheet, Haas had a different price on some of this stuff, so I'm gonna go back and change some stuff here. Okay, here's kind of a little spreadsheet I put up with a comparison of these different machines. You can see the Tormach, 10,000 RPM, almost 20 inch of travel by 14 by 14, 16 tool changer. So this is the price with the chip conveyor and the through spindle coolant. The travels are pretty decent. It's 1,200, I believe, on X and Y, and 600 on Z. Which if you use an older Tormach, this is night and day difference between that. 4 horsepower spindle, which you're going to do lighter cuts with that. You can't really hog a lot of material. And a BT30, I'd have to retool for that. Cut speed up to 1,200 inches a minute, which is pretty fast. You're going to need that doing the light cuts. But we're at, say, $60,000 for the Tormach. Next up is the Haas Super Mini. And that is, 10,000 RPM, 16 by 14 by 15. Smaller machine than I want, but does have a 30 tool changer. Chip conveyor I added. Through spindle coolant I added. 1,200 RPM travel, which is great. 15 horse. If you've used Haas before, their horsepower is kind of exaggerated. I would say that's probably more of like a 12 horse motor in comparison to other machines. But anyways, Cat 40, it'll cut at 833 inches a minute, which is still flying. And that's 72,000, which I think would probably be okay for some people. This machine, obviously it is, they sell them. But it's not really what I'm looking for because of the smaller travels than I currently have. And price-wise, I don't think it's that good a deal. The Haas VF2 SS, 12,000 RPM, 30-16 machine, 20 on Z, 30 tool changer. I added the chip conveyor and the through spindle coolant. 1,400 on rapid. I think it's moving pretty good. 30 horse, which probably is closer to 25. Cat 40, 833 inches a minute for cut speed. We're right here at $100,000. And then the Haas VF2, 10,000 RPM, same travels, through spindle coolant, chip conveyor. See, your rapid is 400 less than the SS, same spindle. And then your cut speed is 650 versus 833. So for the $4,000 difference between these two, if you had it configured the same, there'd be no reason to go the VF2. Lots of people have the VF2 SS, and I think they're pretty happy with them. I've used some older Haas VF3s, VF6, stuff like that, VF1. So I have some pretty good experience with the Haas. Next up is the DN solution. So that is a 12,000 RPM, 3016 machine, 30 tool changer. It's got the sidearm tool changer, so it doesn't have the umbrella, which I know a lot of guys don't like the umbrella. I'm okay with it. I'd rather have the dual arm, just for keeping the tools clean and not getting chips built up in it. And they're a lot faster. Chip conveyor is standard. Through spindle coolant is standard. It's a very fast machine. 1,400, 17 on rapids. 25 horse is probably a true 25 horse. I had a Doosan, which is the DN Solutions Lynx lathe, and that thing would do a lot more than it should have for its class of machine. It's definitely a powerhouse for what it was. So I believe this is going to be the same. The Cat 40 Big Plus is a great option. Not always needed, but it's a nice option to have it as standard. And that will cut 700 inches a minute, which is, in between the VF2 and the VF2 SS. And this is my quote, is $61,000 with the chip conveyor and through spindle coolant and everything. The Syil X9 is next, 12,000 RPM. It's a 30-20-20 machine, 24 tool changer. So this price is with the chip conveyor, but I did not get a price on what through spindle coolant would be to add on to it. Very fast rapid travels, almost 12,000. Spindle horsepower is 11 kilowatt. I should have changed this over, but I believe that's about 8 or 9 horsepower. BT40, I talked about having to change tools for that. Cut speed is right at 400 inches a minute, which is a little slower than I thought it would be, but is standard with quite a few other tool makers out there. And, right under 60,000. I think that's a fairly decent price. And then the Smart Machine tool, this was the lowest price one. 12,000 RPM, 23, 16, 20 with a 24 tool changer. So this would be very close to what I have right now, 2,000 more RPM. But you cannot get a chip conveyor and you cannot get a through spindle coolant. It's just no option for it because the way they built this machine is just to have it as basic as can be, but still give you, a decent machine. Fast rapids, 10 horsepower spindle, Cat 40 big plus, and then 400 inches a minute cutting. At 50,000, I think this is a very hard machine to beat. It's gonna be one of your lowest prices machines out there. If you're fine with the standard options in this travel, I don't think you can beat it. Myself, I believe the Tormach is overpriced. That should be, right around the same price as the Smart, or maybe even a little bit less. When they came out with the 1100 MX, that thing was way overpriced for the kind of machine you got. So I'm glad they came up with this 1500. It's a lot more machine for the money, but still a very high price machine. Haas, these are the prices off their website. Your local HFO might be able to give you a better price. I didn't go any farther than just what they showed on the website. And, the VF2 SS, I believe, is the best Haas probably for the money. But if, $100,000 is still quite a bit, more than 72,000. So, if you can only afford 72, the Super Mini would probably be a good candidate for you. Between the DN Solutions and Syil, they're very close price. We're within $3,500. Very, very close to the same specs. A little more travel on Y, and 6 less tools, and no through spindle coolant. I probably wouldn't be too afraid of the Syil. It's probably a pretty good machine. But for me, the winner is going to be the DN Solutions. Just, Ellison Technologies is my dealer, and I bought from them before, and I can't say, anything bad about them. They're great to deal with. My salesman, Johnny on the spot, he will text you back or email you, as soon as possible. Even if you're just wondering on a price for something that you're just dreaming about, he'll get you, a rough price in no time. So, they've been great to deal with. And in my eyes, this SVM 4100 for $61,000 with all the options. You can't beat it. It's everything I want, and probably more. So I actually put in order for this after I went through and figured all these different options out and what would best suit me. And I'm excited to get it. I'll post some videos here once I get it in and get it installed. One other thing I need to mention is for this price, they actually come out and set it up for you, which is nice, where the smart machine tool, you're setting that up yourself, which is not, a horrible thing to do. I've set up multiple machines myself. You just need a good machine level and some skates, and you can usually get it moved around to where you need and spend some time. The Tormach, you're going to be setting up yourself. I think they do have a service where they will install it, and they do have techs out now, but that will be additional price over that. So that Tormach is $2,000 less than the DN Solutions, which I think we're in a completely different worlds on those machines. If you only had the room for the Tormach and you can't put a phase converter in your shop or your garage or whatever, Tormach might be what you need to go with. But for me, the DN Solutions is what I'm going to go with, or obviously I already bought it. So that's the perfect CNC mill for me. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer anything I can, and I'll show you more on the machine when I get it here. It should be coming here this next month. So keep tuned, and I'll show you what I can. Thank you.